Peace, what's up, everybody? Y'all remember when The Walking Dead was good? Just for the playback. Let's listen to some music as we wait for some people to come on in the room. What's going on, y'all? Thanks for tuning in. What do I like to do for fun? Well, let me pause this right quick. What do I like to do for fun? Follow the Drinking Gourd by Harriet Tubman. Grim Reaper, peace. What's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. That's I like making music. That's what you were just listening to. Some music that I made on GarageBand. That's fun. When I have time, I like to, play my video game. Rest in peace, Toriyama. Yeah, I grew up a Dragon Ball fan. No, I didn't get a haircut. It's interesting, these things events that happen in our lives that are like life changing. I was in middle school when I saw Goku go Super Saiyan for the first time. I was living in Savannah, Georgia at the time, and went home, looked at Toonami. Goku finally went Super Saiyan. And, I wasn't going on, the internet and finding like the anime dubs and stuff. All I was getting was from Toonami. So that was like a major event for me. So yeah, life changing. Been a fan ever since. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm doing pretty good. I've been making sure that I get more sleep at night, and it's amazing what an effect that has on you. Like instead of my usual 5 hours, I've been trying to get like 6.5, closer to 7. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe as you come on in. Do y'all remember when The Walking Dead was good? That's what I wanted to talk about tonight. It came across my mind. The Walking Dead was one of those moments in television where, I don't know, it's like a certain energy to it. Sunday nights really used to be dominated by The Walking Dead on AMC. People were making sure to have their face into place so we can all experience this new thing together. Now, I wasn't a fan of the comics by Robert Kirkman. I didn't read the comics before the show came on. Then the show started coming on, so I said, let me go and read the comic books. Let's see. Can I put a rubber band in my own dreads? Yes, I can. Thank you for the compliment about my hair. Uh, but with everything, along with it being entertainment, there are some lessons in The Walking Dead that I think we should pay attention to. And I know that's one of my talents is pulling lessons out of seemingly mundane things, especially when I started studying quote unquote occult concepts. Let's see, you say, only ever felt that sense with Game of Thrones. We're due a dope new show. Yeah. You know, I got into Game of Thrones pretty late. I believe the show was already finished when I started watching it. And then I was, oh yeah, this is really good writing. But you know, it's hard making that emotional and time investment into new television shows because it does take up a lot. It does seem like we're due for like another one of those TV shows. Um, it's my favorite movie. That's kind of hard. I have a lot of favorite movies. The Prestige by Christopher Nolan. If I could go back in time and watch that movie all over again for the first time, just to get to the end of the movie and have that mind blown moment, that's a good one. The Dark Knight, uh, being able to watch that again for the first time. Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. It's a cheesy movie, a cheesy 80s movie, but it's an excellent movie. I did miss the Sunday premieres on Game of Thrones, but I know that feeling like everybody's tuning in because you want to know what's going to happen next. Did you guys watch The Walking Dead? Were y'all into that? Um, I have two cats, Lucky and Mackie. But with The Walking Dead, I was writing some notes down. The thing that I think what people really liked is it was a critique of humanity. It was really showing us in the sense that, you know, we're only as good as our circumstances allow us to be. That's the point the Joker made in The Dark Knight. He said, you know, a bomb blows up or something happens and some soldiers die in Afghanistan, nobody cares. But school bus full of children, something happens to them, then that's like, oh, that's outside of the norm. You know, we're used to that. But he said if you change these people's circumstances, they'll eat each other to stay in the sun. And what's funny, I don't know if Christopher Nolan was watching The Walking Dead, but that's exactly what you had going on in that TV show. Circumstances changed, zombies came alive, and people panicked, and society collapsed very, very quickly. And then you got to see as the show was going on that, you know, the zombies were bad, but it's the humans, the other humans who were around who were the worst things out there. Let's read some more of these comments. Let's see, that's how propaganda works too. Yep. First three seasons or so I watched Walking Dead. Yeah, you should. I stopped watching The Walking Dead. I lost interest when they took Rick off of the show. Um, I was upset when they. I don't know. Spoiler alert! You probably already noticed. I was upset when they took Carl out. I thought that was a mistake because I went through and I read the comic books, and the story is essentially about a man trying to find his family and protect them. You know, Rick wakes up out of a coma and finds that the world has gone to hell. And that's something else that made it relatable to me because I was, dang, what would I do in that situation? I got a wife and a son out there. I need to find them and see that they're all right. Make sure that they're all right. And then you come up with these concepts of, well, what is right? What is wrong? It's if it's survival at any cost, then is there any such thing as bad when you're fighting for survival? And you saw people do like some horrible things to each other just trying to survive. Um, so yeah, that critique of humanity, I think subconsciously we all know that, man, if things were a little bit different, it'd be kind of wild out here. Imagine if you went to the grocery store and you couldn't buy food. And it makes me realize just how fragile the system we have right now is. Something small can go wrong, and people are probably gonna lose their minds. You got to be able to protect yourself. But something else that really stuck out to me, I was really in my study of Gnosticism around this time, but the first season of The Walking Dead showed you what that ultimate lesson was. So remember, last few episodes of the first season, they make it to the CDC, right? That's what they were trying to get to, trying to find a place of sanctuary. And the guy who was working in the CDC, he lets them in and he says, yo, once these doors go back down, and they're not coming back up. And he meant that literally. Well, what he told Rick, what he whispered in his ear, and we didn't find that out until like towards the end of the second season, he told them, so, yo, y'all are all infected. If you die, you're gonna come back as a zombie. You don't have to be bit or not. If you die, you come back. And the guy at the CDC, he was trying to tell them, like, look, this place is going to self-destruct. You might as well stay in here. What do you want to go out there and survive for? But that human need for survival, that will to fight to live, that was too strong in most of the people. They wanted to go out there and keep going. Now, what's interesting, it was the black woman who decided, you know what? Yeah, I'm staying. I'm not going back out there. Because you have to ask yourself, well, it's the zombie apocalypse. Do you really want to go out there and suffer all the things that are going to happen, things you can't even imagine? And that's like a Buddhist tenet. To live is to suffer. Something's going to happen to you while you're down here. There's no getting away around that. That's just part of life. So that black woman, she made the decision, you know what? I'm staying right here. I'm not leaving. And because of that, she missed out on all the horrible things that they saw later on in the show. And one of the things that I like that the writers did, like a full circle moment, the guy at the CDC told Rick, he said, there's going to come a day when you wish you would have stayed in here. And that day came when they met Negan. Now, because it's a TV show and it's not real in a sense, I love Negan. Negan was hilarious to me. That first scene, he was like, which one of you assholes is the leader? Him? He's like, hey, Rick, I'm Negan. Negan was just funny to me. Let me read some more of these comments. Let's see. Yes, right and wrong isn't really decided by us. We have to choose what is correct in every circumstance and remain upright spiritually. Yo, that's real. Yep, Carl was supposed to live. Saying there's like what 4 different Walking Dead shows. There are a lot of Walking Dead shows now. It's like I can't even keep up. I know they've brought Rick back. They finally found him, but it was dirty how they did Carl. Like the guy Chandler Riggs, the guy who plays the character, like he just bought a house in Georgia, because they said, oh yeah, you gonna be on the show for a while. Then they X'd him out. You know what's funny? Something else that I noticed while watching The Walking Dead, there was a point in time where it seemed like whenever they brought on a new black character on the show, another black character was going to die. It was like they had a black quota. Season 2, you had, I think his name was like T-Dog or something. When they made it to the prison, and it was like another group of black people, what was the guy's name? He always wore the Scully, him and his sister Sasha. and I can't think of the other guy's name. But then there was another black guy who was in the prison, locked up. They didn't know what was going on. I actually met that guy when I was in LA flying back. He had on a jacket and it had his last name going across it. And he looked familiar to me. So I was like, well, let me look his name up. And sure enough, it was the guy from The Walking Dead. And that fame is something else. I could tell he wanted people to know who he was, because why else would you wear a jacket with your last name going across it? So I walked up and I spoke to him. I said, hey, wasn't you in The Walking Dead? And he was like, yeah. Now I was flying coach and he was in the seat right behind me. So it wasn't like he was on some superstar stuff. Let's see. She said, I think they did it because they think he was growing too fast. It was something. Either way, them getting rid of Carl was a mistake, in my opinion. Because if you read the comic books, you see Carl makes it to the end. uh, what else? There's some more lessons in The Walking Dead. Um, okay, when I think about Negan, we got three different examples of government in that show as well. Three different ways that humanity can form themselves. With Negan, you had the dictatorship. It was his way or the highway, and he was very brutal. It was that idea of might equals right. Well, I have all these people, I have this strength, so I'm going to take half of what you have, and half is whatever I say it is, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So you got that extreme all the way to the right. And then on the opposite spectrum, you had the kingdom and Ezekiel. I think that was his name. King Ezekiel. He was on the opposite end of that spectrum. He was actually out there trying to do the best for his people. But he was ruling it as a dictatorship as well because he was the king. And then right in the middle, you had Rick and his group of people. Rick was almost like the elected leader, but Rick was willing to do some horrible things as well to ensure the survival of his people. That's something that comes up in the book Dune. The Bene Gesserit, they have the ability to see all their female ancestral memories. And one of the things that becomes clear as the series continues in the books, they flat out say, yo, all of our ancestors weren't good people. They've had to do some very brutal things to survive. And that got me to thinking about, myself, what's in my bloodline. What might my ancestor have had to do to make sure that I'm here right now? For all of us, there's somebody in our past that's responsible for us being here. A lot of somebodies. People who had to survive. Somebody asked me earlier if I have any animals, and yes, I do have 2 cats. And the more vocal of the two, he's at the door right now, asking to come in. What's up, man? Come here. Let me introduce you to the people. Y'all, this is Mackie. No, Mackie, look. Alright, he's shy. But anyway, what were we talking about? I need my glasses to see these comments good. Alright, somebody wants me to say their name 3 times in a row. That's not happening, homie. I think about this often. Crazy how many thousands of ancestors we've had and how many different situations they must have gone through. That is pretty fascinating to think about. And even what I think is fascinating as well is the fact that it may be possible for us to see all of those experiences. Like, not just see it, but have that experience and know what they were thinking by tapping into the Akashic record or your genetic DNA or your ancestral memory coming down from your genes. Because the cool thing about that, if we were able to tap into that at will, that is a lot of information. That is a lot of wisdom that we have. You said it is possible, but I've tapped in. That's what's up. How exactly do you do it? Do you just meditate on it, visualize it, and eventually you get to the point to where you can see it? Yo, you asked to come in here. Now you wanting to go out. All right, here, go on. I think that what makes I think the thing that makes the powers that be fear us as a people is the fact that we have so much knowledge inside of our DNA that we can tap into. And if we were ever able to tap into that, I think not only would it open up abilities for us, but it might also put us in the mindset, well, this thing is happening in a cycle. If we keep going round and around and around on the merry-go-round, when do we get off and go do something else? I really feel like that's the fear that we decide, you know what, it's actually kind of the earth thing has played itself out. Let's go to a higher level of existence. And that's another lesson that I think you can take from The Walking Dead. These guys were living in a very stressful environment. And when you're stressed, when you don't have peace of mind, it's very hard for you to make good decisions. Now, some stress is good. Uh, it's like an exercise, but too much stress is it's like trying to lift too much weight. You're just gonna hurt yourself in a sense. I wrote an ebook called "Free Your Mind to Have Peace of Mind." If you check in the if you check on my channel, there should be a link for you to get to it. But if not, just type in into your Google search "Free Your Mind to Have Peace of Mind" by Ronald Simmons. So you can go and purchase that ebook. Let's see. Somebody says, another thought I've had, at some point we might want to forget the trauma of our ancestry. Okay, yes. I can understand that as well. That need to forget, because it can be considered a whole lot of trauma. I think about what our ancestors went through during slavery, like the unspeakable horrors they had to endure. Um, I've been meditating for about 20 plus years. For me, it's sporadic flashes of insight and knowledge. There are a lot of stories that talk about how our overseers have kept this from us. Tower of Babel is one, I agree. Um, I'll peep the book, appreciate your head up, man. Your head's up, man. Well, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you tuning in. Oh, that brings in mind something else. I think I spoke about this book in my last live. It's called The Book at War. Um, how reading shaped conflict and conflict shaped reading. It's interesting how, or what I enjoy is finding knowledge I wasn't necessarily looking for and it just being in the book. Like, for instance, I've heard of Uncle Tom's Cabin. I've never read it, but one of the things about Uncle Tom's Cabin is that it really played a role in the Civil War. Let's see. It painted a picture of the South that people didn't want to see, especially the Southern states, because it made them seem like they were just barbaric. All right, so this is from chapter 3. From Uncle Tom's Cabin to Stalingrad, Why Men Fight. When Harriet Beecher Stowe went to Washington in 1862 to meet the President of the United States, it will be hard to say which of the two was the more famous. Stowe was the author of the runaway bestseller of the 19th century, Uncle Tom's Cabin. a vivid, deeply moving tale of life in the slave society of the American South. After, after serialization in the national era in 1851 to 1852, Uncle Tom's Cabin would sell 300,000 copies in the United States in its first year of publication, before going on to take Europe by storm. By the time the author came to London, then the literary capital of the world, Uncle Tom's Cabin had sold 1 million copies worldwide, and Stowe received a rapturous welcome, somewhat to the chagrin of Charles Dickens, forced to make a gracious speech at a banquet in her honor. Um, all right, so one of the things that we would hear a lot about is that America fought the Civil War to free the slaves. And they say that to us like, you should be appreciative, nigga. We did this for y'all. But according to this book, um, all right. In fact, slavery seldom featured when Union soldiers articulated their reasons for joining up and fighting the South. In an extensive sample of the surviving correspondence of Union soldiers, only 1 in 10 mention emancipation as an important motivation for fighting. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 proved bitterly divisive in the Union Army. Their detestation of Southerners emanated more from outrage at secession, the need to defend the Union and the Constitution, and the principles of fair play and justice. The results of elections, however unwelcome, should be observed. If the Union did not prevail, the United States would be exposed as a failure, with consequences that would resonate around the world. Um, the most profound impact of Uncle Tom's Cabin was to reinforce the paranoia of the Southern states. The Southern planter class prided themselves on their honor and Christian principles, and felt both had been besmirched by Stowe's polemic. Publication inspired a glut of anti-Tom novels and defenses of the Southern way of life, but most Southern booksellers simply refused to sell it. Copies of the book were publicly burned in Athens, Georgia, and in 1856, a bookseller was run out of Mobile, Alabama for stocking it. His plaintiff defense was that he'd only ordered 50 copies because so many of our planters and other customers begged me to procure a copy for them. I just thought that was interesting. Uh, you come around, I come across these little bits of knowledge, and it just adds to the whole. Unless there's a way to relate this to The Walking Dead in some way, and I'm gonna think of it in a second. But that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy learning things that I find interesting and bringing it back and sharing it with the people. Because again, it serves as like a reminder for myself and for others that there's always more to learn. There's always room for improvement, and that's what life should be about, in my opinion. That striving for the betterment of yourself. And for me, that comes from part of that comes from knowledge. Let's see. Well, that's interesting. I had to. Oh, I'm looking for my other phone so I can play some more music for y'all. I wrote something called Tubas Will Love It. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm gonna think on this Walking Dead thing a little bit more. Something else that I just thought about with The Walking Dead is I wrote reluctance to change. You have to be adaptable. That's something else that Rick, the main character, was dealing with when the show first came on. Is that he wasn't in a system where he could deal with the old set of rules. Things had changed, and he was reluctant to accept that change. Now his homeboy, his best friend Shane knew, all right, things ain't the same. We got to play by a different set of rules. But it was driving Shane crazy too because, his spirit didn't want to have to turn into that person. Let's see. Yes, right. We only got where we were by being extremely or supremely adaptable. Like, we don't adapt to these changes that go on around us, you meet with disaster. And it's not always going to be an extreme case. Like, sometimes these changes are subtle and you may miss them. Like, when you get into a relationship, it requires some adaptability on your part because now you're doing something different. You can't keep behaving as a single individual. One of those things is that willingness to change and get better. Uh, that's something that I'm working on myself. I'm not perfect. Uh, Constantly learning more about myself, learning to be more introspective. As men, I know one of the things that if we're not taught it outright, we're taught it by the actions of the men that we see around us, is that we put our feelings on the back burner. Uh, you don't really get too deep into that. It's like you have a task and this is what you're supposed to do. And, you just focus on that. How you feel about it doesn't really matter. You have duties. Um, One of the good things about that show and the book that I like, the comic book, is that Rick and Lori had this conversation like, what kind of world are we going to be bringing our son Carl up in? Uh, but children are easily adaptable. They adapt the best out of all of us because it is so brand new to them. They're not stuck in old ways. So we have to be careful what we teach our children or what we show our children. I think about the men in my family, the men that I have in my bloodline, and I appreciate them for all the things that they showed me. Because they showed me, okay, this is what they did, and these are the results that they got. And if I want something different or better than the results that they got, I'm gonna have to do something different. I think that's what we're here for. Like when I have sons, or if I have sons or daughters at that, I'm going to show them the mistakes that I made, and hopefully they can avoid those things and just grow and become better than me. If we keep increasing, if we keep bettering ourselves generation by generation, well, then we get to like that phase of superhumans. But again, just thinking about the metaphysics of all of this, all these things happen in cycles, right? And like the guy said in the first season of The Walking Dead, you're all infected. Meaning, like all of us, we all have that human based nature in us. And no matter how good as you raise yourself, let's say we did get to the point where humanity is gotten back to our peak, we've gotten back to our golden age abilities. We can make things manifest in an instant. We have these perfect civilizations because of the imperfect nature of this place that we find ourselves in, and how everything happens in a cycle. Again, it's going to eventually have its decay. It's just like the seasons. We go from spring, where everything is new, to summer, when you're in your prime. Then you have fall, when you're starting to decay. And then winter, and that's death. Civilizations follow that. You'll follow that throughout your life. Uh, and it's up to you to make sure you make it through these different phases. Relationships have that, jobs have that cycle. Um, And that's the challenge of life, making sure you can make it through those different phases. I think that's all I want to talk about tonight. Unless y'all have something else on your mind. I appreciate y'all tuning in. This this YouTube thing is, social media as a whole is just interesting. We all have these platforms that we can get on and share our ideas. Something else I found out in this book was it wasn't until like the 19th century to where like literacy became like a universal thing, and humanity, not humanity, but the ruling powers, a lot of them were unsure about that. They wanted to keep the people below them, ignorant. Because now when the ruling class wanted to go to war, they realized, all right, now we got to give them better reasons than just saying, well, because I say so. You have these people who have access to information and they can share their ideas. Much like what we have going on today. We have an inundation of information at this point. And it makes it hard to get everybody on one page. Let's see. Comment says, the perfection / imperfection thing is always interesting to me. It's a duality because we are perfect as we are in all, as are all circumstances. Imperfection only exists when perceived. So every situation is perfect the way it is, but I guess it's our judgment on it that makes it imperfect. That makes sense because I remember Phil Valentine saying that your higher self isn't like the ego, isn't like the running thoughts in your head. Your higher self just sits back and, that's interesting. It's like it sits back and watches the movie without judgment. It just observes. It's the ego that says this is good, this is bad. That is something to keep in mind as we're going through these, we're going through these challenges of life. But also, on my channel, I've been reading The Way of the Superior Man by David Dida, however you pronounce his name. I just put the latest chapter up that I did, chapter 13. And so chapters 1 through 13 are on the channel if you guys are interested. I'm going to read one out tonight and record it. And if I have time, I'll post that as well. This is good information to have for men and women. I'm rereading this again, just to serve as a reminder for myself that, keep going. You're not done yet. The work isn't over. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you got something from this, share this with somebody. I'd appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next episode of Ron's Library and Ideas. Peace. Guess I'll send us out on some music. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, man. I appreciate it. All right, y'all be easy.